Hello everyone. I'm excited to talk to you today about some work that we're doing over in Health and Human Performance. And specifically, I'll be telling you about a project that we just completed titled Immersive Real-Time Biofeedback Optimized with Enhanced Expectancies Improves Motor Learning. So this is a study that we just wrapped up not too long ago. Briefly, we are looking at dual task cost and how to improve that. So dual task cost refers to the added difficulty or the added penalty for completing a task simultaneous with another task. So for instance, if I'm having to walk and count backwards from 100 at the same time, that is a dual task, whereas walking by itself would be a single task. And what added penalty or to what degree of difficulty does adding that cognitive task worsen your performance on walking is an example of a dual task. So we think that reducing dual task costs are important for maintaining safe movement patterns during fast-paced sport, because during sport you have to attend to multiple things. So if you can do that automatically, then you have greater bandwidth to perform better, to maintain safe biomechanics. The two motor learning principles of autonomy support and enhanced expectancies show promise for improving performance, though evidence regarding process is scant. So process being biomechanics, like how somebody may be able to shoot a free throw perfectly fine, but how are they getting there? Are they shooting it safely? So we're looking at more process-related biomechanics. Now, autonomy support, what is that? That is a motor learning principle that says if you give a learner autonomy over their learning conditions, do they actually perform better? Whereas enhanced expectancies refers to enhancing one's expectancy for success. There are multiple ways you can deliver that. We have chosen to deliver it through positive feedback. So delivering positive feedback to someone during a task as opposed to negative feedback has been shown to improve performance repeatedly. It is unknown if that will also improve the process. So that is what we are seeking to do in this pilot study. This pilot study is seeking to determine the effectiveness of autonomy support and enhanced expectancies delivered through a virtual reality paradigm to reduce dual task costs during single leg balance. So in doing so, if we can demonstrate that these things happen, then it will provide clinicians with a means to deliver these techniques to athletes, to patients, maybe in a physical therapy setting, to improve their resistance to injury. So this could have implications for ACL injuries in the knee, for concussions, for general injury prevention, for patellofemoral disorders. So that is our end goal and what we are seeking to improve. So briefly, the participants that we recruited for this, 45 participants, split them into 3 groups. We did screen for high-risk biomechanics, so we wanted to get a population that is actually at risk of injury to see if we could improve them. So all 45 individuals displayed risky biomechanics that we screened for. Split them into 3 groups. The ratio between females and males within each group was the same. We had 8 females and 7 males in each group. So we had a control group, an autonomy support group, and an enhanced expectancy group. Sessions, briefly. So it was a 2-session study. On day 1, we obtained baseline measures where we got dual task. So we did a single task, we did a dual task, more on that in a little bit. Following the baseline, we did an intervention, which consisted of 5 sets of 8 single leg squats on each leg. The intervention was different for each group, so that's where we delivered the motor learning technique. That lasted maybe 15 minutes total that it took to do a 5 by 8 single leg squats. And then immediately after that, we did the same single task, dual task testing about 10 minutes after the intervention. And then we did a delayed retention the following day. So about 24 hours after the initial session, we did a delayed retention, which is a big addition to the literature. Most literature does not test retention at all. So a little more on our pre-post test paradigm. At baseline, at immediate retention, at delayed retention, we did a single task where each participant for 20 seconds just maintained a single leg squat hold as still as they could while standing on a force plate. So the force plate was measuring sway. Like how unsteady are the participants? Are they going up on their toes, back on their heels, side to side? Their instructions were to remain as steady as possible for 20 seconds. Then in the dual task, they did that same thing, remained as steady as they could for 20 seconds, but they were also doing a cognitive visual task. So they had on virtual reality goggles here, and you saw the flanker test, which is the series of 5 arrows in their virtual reality environment with instructions to look as quickly as they could to the left or the right in a direction corresponding with the middle arrow. So in the example given, the participant would look to the left, and in the virtual reality environment, there was a target set up on either side, and we had pupil trackers on the participants, so we could tell exactly when they looked away and exactly when they hit the target. So that was the dual task. So single task, just balancing, dual task, balancing, plus this added directional component. The intervention. So for enhanced expectancies group, you can see this participant here with retroreflective markers on him and also the VR goggles. So he is seeing this avatar in his virtual reality environment, and he is trying to mimic that avatar as best as he can. This fella is in the enhanced expectancies group, so positive feedback is the key there. So as he's squatting, if his knee, if his hip, if his trunk behave as they should, if they are remaining in alignment, he gets that positive feedback. If the feedback goes away, it is an instruction to him that maybe he's not doing what he's supposed to do. So the instruction we gave the participants was, hey, try to keep this feedback on as best you can. The autonomy support group, on the other hand, they did not get these green lights. They got to select the color of their avatar prior to each set. So they could pick a blue, green, purple, whatever color they wanted was of their avatar. And then the control group just got the avatar, didn't get the choice of color, did not get any of the feedback. They were just told to, hey, mimic this avatar. We won't tell you how you're doing. So those are the 3 groups. They did 5 sets of 8 single leg squats, just like that. So after the intervention, we came back and did pre-post testing immediately and then the following day. So 3 test sessions. The center of pressure, the force, the sway, postural sway was obtained with force plates. We computed center of pressure coordinates. The VR goggles were used to also monitor pupil reaction time, and on the flanker task, we are not reporting that data, but that's what we did do with that. Dual task cost was computed as you see here. We used a multiple mixed model repeated measures ANOVA 3x3, so 3 session by 3 groups. We did not use p-values. We used a generalized eta squared to tell us if we were seeing meaningful effects, because this was a small sample size as a pilot study. So because we knew we were underpowered, we didn't use p-values. So our results. In the anterior posterior plane, center of pressure velocity on the right legs improved for the enhanced expectancies group between just the first 2 testing points, so between baseline and immediate retention. You'll see that enhanced expectancies, that Cohen's D value is 0.8, which is a large effect. The control experienced a 0.3 Cohen's D improvement, which is still a small effect, but because the enhanced expectancies was that large effect, that's really encouraging. And you can see the graph over there on the right, whereas where the post-test, the immediate post-test is immediate retention, the dual task cost plunged significantly, which is good. You don't want many costs associated with dual task. So that is an improvement. Going down on the graph is good. So similarly, And also in the anterior posterior plane, the standard deviation of velocity on the right side, again, improved for the enhanced expectancies group. We aren't seeing any improvements with the autonomy support group, but the enhanced expectancies, again, a Cohen's D of close to 0.9. I mean, the control group also improved to 0.68, which is a pretty big effect size, but we're still getting that added benefit with enhanced expectancies, which is really nice to see. Unfortunately, we did not see it with autonomy support, but we've got ideas about how we may improve that in the future. So these results do partially support our hypothesis in that enhanced expectancies was very effective for improving dual task costs. So people were able to be more automatic in maintaining a stable base of support, but the autonomy support technique was not very effective. So we observed this in the anterior posterior direction. That may be because people were squatted down in about 30 degrees of knee flexion, so they had that little give in the AP plane. We also saw this on the right side exclusively, which is interesting. Most people in our cohort, if not all, were right side stance dominant. So they were accustomed to, I'm sorry, that's backwards. They were right side kick dominant. So they were accustomed to standing on their left leg. Their left leg's probably really good at maintaining a base of support. Typically use their right leg for kicking. So it's possible that their right leg needed improvement because it's not accustomed to bearing all the weight. So again, this visual real-time positive feedback is promising. This does have implications for injury-resistant movement strategies. Potentially it may be used in ACL prevention programs, patellofemoral prevention programs, possibly for concussions. Even something as simple as changing the verbiage in a clinic. So if I'm a clinician, if I'm an athlete, I am an athletic trainer, but if I'm an athletic trainer or a physical therapist, an occupational therapist, it might be possible to use this very seamlessly in existing programs, just delivering positive feedback while not delivering negative feedback. So if posture is improved, oh, your knee flexion looked very good on that rep. If knee flexion doesn't look good, well, don't say anything. So only comment on positive aspects in that reinforcement. If it can be visual feedback, that may even be better because we used visual feedback. So having someone simply stand in front of a mirror and reinforcing that positive kinematic feedback while in front of a mirror may be enough to elicit some of these effects. Future directions. So this is preliminary evidence that biomechanically based outcomes can be affected by motor learning strategies. It is unknown if these effects may extend to other biomechanical measures beyond center of pressure. So can we also influence kinematic outcomes or kinetic outcomes or any nonlinear outcomes as we begin to think about sample entropy and nonlinear metrics? Is it possible to influence those? We don't know that yet. That is future directions. Also, our autonomy support technique did not work. It's possibly because we used a task irrelevant delivery method. Choosing the color of an avatar isn't directly related to performance of the task, whereas if we had allowed them to choose something else, say if we had allowed them to choose the order on which they performed, like legs, like left or right, right or left, you can choose which one you perform first. It's possible that a more task relevant choice would have been better. So in the future, we plan to do that. Long-term goal of this is to develop like tele-rehab programs for somebody, you know, say during a pandemic, for instance, you're at home and maybe this is something, if you have a VR headset at home and a laptop, you can perform rehab in your home and never have to go anywhere. Similar to how we've seen with telemedicine, tele-rehab would be the next step with this. We do want to thank Griffin Miller in the Computer Science and Engineering Department for developing the avatar in the virtual reality environment. This work was funded by a CICSA grant, so Center of Excellence in Applied Computational Science and Engineering. That was fiscal year 2018, I believe. So we want to thank thank UTC for that funding, because that was very, very key. And thank you. I look forward to the live session, the Q&A session.